Am I the only one who's tired of having to learn the same lesson over and over again? It either won't get through my thick head, or I miss the point, or I forget what the point was, and then I have to take the class all over again. Most of the people that I know in my life, they just seem to skate through life without a care. Yes, of course, they have mortgages and kids demanding schedules. Uh, they pay the same price that I pay for eggs and bread and milk and bacon. They have mortgages, the interest rates are too high, uh, car loans are too expensive. So we all have the same problems, but they don't, most people that I know in my experience, they don't think about, where are you going? What do you want to get out of life? What are your real goals, your real dreams? Not just pay off your mortgage or get the kids through college, but do you have, because what happens after that? What happens when you achieve that? You've paid off your mortgage and the kids are out of school and hopefully they're out of the house. Are you just going to float? They don't have a plan to succeed, to get beyond that, and they don't really expect to. And they wonder, why in the world am I worried about it? Because dreams are for kids. When you ask a little kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, they'll just tell you and just go on and on about what they want to be. And they're so excited. But somewhere along the way, we lose that anticipation and that excitement over what we had hoped for out of life when we were young. We dream average, we think average, we pray average, and we end up living average lives. Then something out of the blue hits, and the dreams that we have, even the little dreams, the average dreams, they're gone. We lose that person. Maybe we lose our health. Something happens, or our a career, and then we wonder, what am I going to do now? Where am I going to go from here? And when I lost my husband, everything was kind of wrapped up in him. My thoughts, or my anticipation of retirement, that was in him. Our future together, our plans, our goals, everything that we always talked about and dreamed about, it was together. It was, a group thing. And when he was gone, I kind of totally did not know who I was then. Now what? My retirement looks different. My future, where I'm going to live, where I'm going to grow old, everything looks different. And I wasn't happy about it. But it just felt like there was no point in any of it after that. I'm still not sure after all this time. It's been 3 years. I'm going into my 4th year without him. And I'm still not sure what life is supposed to look like. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go from here. But that's what I'm trying to learn. And if you're kind of in the same situation, wondering about your future, wondering about what you're supposed to do as you enter your next season, consider liking and subscribing, and hit that notification bell if you're getting any value out of my videos. But I do believe I've made progress with everything in the last 3, going on 4 years. I laugh easier. I don't have to. I would be relieved when it was time for bed, because when you're asleep, you're not thinking about stuff, hopefully. And it was just like one day over, one day. I very seldom think that. And getting out of bed was so hard when in the beginning. It was so hard. But I am doing better with that. And I think I'm just getting used to it. It's like how a person, if you lose a limb, you never stop missing that limb and remembering how much easier life was when you had 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 hands, 2 legs, remembering how much easier life was with the things that you kind of took for granted. Uh, you just learn to live with the one hand, the one leg. Um, but you think about it every time you try to stand up out of a chair, every time you try to sit down or walk across the floor, I guarantee they think about that. They think about that, what they've lost. And I think it's always going to be the same with grief. I don't know. I'm learning this as I go. My dad had a friend who lost his right arm, and he told dad the hardest thing about it was shaving. That was the hardest thing he had to relearn to do with his left hand. And I guarantee, or I'm pretty sure, I would imagine, even now, I'm sure he learned to shave because he was clean shaven. He learned to shave. He learned how not to miss a spot and everything. But I would think every time he looks in the mirror, he remembers how much easier life was. And he thinks about it. And that right side, which I know I'm backwards in this camera, his right arm might have wanted to lift to take up that razor and shave his face. But when you have 2 hands, you tend to take them for granted. Try this if you shave. Try shaving with your other hand, your non-dominant hand, or plucking your eyebrows, or putting on eyeliner. Try doing that. Well, maybe you don't want to. I would totally poke my eye out. But we don't even think about it until we've lost it. And with my husband, we both kind of teased each other. And I don't know if all married couples do this or we're just morbid, but we would tease each other about what would happen to the other if we lost one, if we lost each other, what would happen to the remaining person. And we would kind of tease each other about it. It was a game, kind of like what you do when you talk about if you won the lottery. Where would you live? What would you buy? What kind of a car would you drive? Wouldn't it be a blast to take all the youth in church to a car lot and buy them all new cars? Wouldn't that be a hoot? So you talk about that and you tease, but it's not going to happen, especially the lottery if you don't buy a ticket, you're not going to have to worry about what you do with the money. But it's fun to talk about and think about, and we would do that, not that it was fun, but we would tease each other about what the one remaining would do. But we never really thought about what it was actually going to be like. And I guess we took each other for granted. I know I took him for granted. But my hopes, my dreams, my anticipation of the future, everything was wrapped up in him. And that's really not fair. Nobody's shoulders are wide enough to carry the hopes and dreams and goals of a whole other person. The reason that they get out of bed. When we make someone our be all, end all reason for living, it's just too heavy of a burden for another person to carry. And except for Jesus, he's the only one that can do it. And that is why he came. So he could carry those burdens, because we cannot put those on another person. We can't expect them to carry it for them or for us. In the beginning, I felt like God was punishing me by taking my husband. I thought I had done something wrong. And, again, he's teaching me a lesson. I needed to learn this lesson. And if I'd learned it sooner, maybe my husband wouldn't have, you know, he'd still be here. Um, and I think that's pretty common. You might not have experienced that if you've lost a loved one or a career or your health issues. You might not have ever thought of that. But I guess it's kind of common because in Grief Share, I shared those thoughts with some other people that are going through it, and they all understood. Nobody was like, "Oh, Treason, that's terrible." Yeah, everybody understood. So it must kind of be a thing. But I do think I have made some progress. Like I said earlier, I do laugh more, and I have my relationship with the Lord has grown a lot stronger. There's still so much, though, I don't understand. And I know God does not owe me an explanation, but I worry sometimes that I'll never be who He created me to be because I just don't get so much stuff. Years ago, I heard a pastor. He was talking about Jesus and his disciples, and he called him Jesus and the Marvelettes. In the King James version, it always says, I love the King James. It would always say Jesus said something or did something, and his disciples marveled, and they marveled, and the disciples marveled because he'd do something, and they marveled. And that's why that pastor called them Jesus and the Marvelettes. They were always marveling. They were always just blown away. Even though they followed him, they shadowed him, lived with him, ate meals together, constant communication with this individual for 3 years. They saw every miracle. 3 of the guys saw the transfiguration. They saw everything. They saw him. Well, I mean, they just saw it all. They were there. But still, they would ask him questions, the dumbest questions. He would say or do something. Oh, Master, we don't get it. We don't understand. Why did you say that? Why are you talking about leaven? Is that because we forgot to bring bread with us? They would just ask the silliest things. And so I think of them and of their confusion and not understanding what Jesus was doing, what Jesus was trying to teach them during that 3 years. And I think, what hope is there for the rest of us? If they didn't get it, oh my goodness, what hope is there for any of us? But even when what God is trying to teach you doesn't make sense, and it doesn't feel like there's a future from where we are now, there is hope and there is joy. And that's what I struggle with. Joy, peace. Yeah. Getting excited about stuff, I think, because it says we are promised something better. God has something better. My sister told me the other day, she said, Teresa, you were married to the love of your life. He adored you. And everybody knew that. Everybody told me that. My husband adored me. Just thought I was it. I hung the moon. And so without him, that's what I think. What could be better on this earth, in this life? What could be better than that? Having somebody that adored me and just thought it was funny, and he was my number one fan with my books. What could be better than that? And that's what I think. And I know that's wrong. There's a line in a song that says, just keep repeating until you believe. Because I don't think most of us, when we read the promises of God, that there is hope and joy and peace and a future and something better. You read that one time, I don't think you're going to believe it. Or 100 times. It seems like we keep going, or I do anyway, I keep going around the same mountain. And I'm just not getting it. But I tried to immerse myself in the Word and in prayer um, until I do believe it, until I do get it. And I want to encourage you to do the same. Um, and if you want to share any struggles or challenges that you're having, or any words of encouragement for me, just drop a comment or just put a heart emoji that you kind of understand uh, what what I'm going through, and maybe you're there or you've been there in the past. Um, but God's word says that He has something better, even when we have no idea what it's supposed to look like. The Israelites, 400 years they were in captivity, and they wanted out. They wanted Moses, fix this for us, get us out of here. This is horrible. So they got out of there. And then 40 years they wandered in the wilderness, murmuring and complaining. And they even wanted to go back to Egypt. They were slaves in Egypt. It was terrible. And Pharaoh just kept making their lives worse. And they saw all the miracles that happened for them to get out of Egypt. They wanted to go back to Egypt. They just complained and grumbled. And they could not see the promised land. And maybe that's where you are. You cannot see the promised land. You cannot see another dream. But God says He wants us to dream again. He does not want us mired down in regret. Oh, regret is huge. Regrets and frustration, anger, hurt. If we're still here, He has a reason. There's a reason that we're still here. There's a reason that you did not go with your loved one. And believe me, I wanted to. But there's a reason why I didn't. It's not God didn't forget me. God didn't say, well, oops, I meant to take Teresa too and forgot her. She on the list. She got overlooked. No. I'm supposed to be here, or I wouldn't be. If I wasn't supposed to be here, I would not be here. So that means God still has a purpose for me. He's always doing one of two things. You've probably heard this said before, but He's always doing one of two things. He's either preparing a blessing for you, or He's preparing you for the blessing. And we have to believe that. We have to believe that God has a blessing for us, but He can't move until we let go of what we had. I wanted to do a do-over so bad. I wanted my husband back. I would imagine that I heard him coming in the house. I don't want this to have happened. Undo it. It was just so hard. But I just have to believe God is either preparing a blessing for me or preparing me for the blessing. And He is doing that for you too. One or the other. Life is, you've probably heard it said, life is like a tapestry. You see a tapestry. On the back side, that's all we see. We see the jumbled up threads, the confusion. It's ugly. It's kind of a mess. The threads are all knotted and tangled, and we can't imagine what that picture looks like on the other side. All we see are the threads. It's not pretty. You would never hang it on your wall. But God sees the other side. It's a piece of art, and it's our lives. And that's what God sees. We might never see it on this side, but we still have to believe on my side, it's a mess, but on God's side, it's a piece of art that He has created. It's His design for us. Those that He loves and cares about, and He's there in every struggle. It's His grand design. We have to trust that. We have to believe that. We have to put the masterpiece in His hands. We just have to hand it over. And if we would, it would save us a lot of grief and frustration.